Good day, dear colleagues. The topic of our presentation is Experience in Teaching Analytical Chemistry in a joint English language educational project of Chinese and Ukrainian universities. It's our presentation content. Kyiv National University of Technologies and Design and the Qilu University of Technology at Dinan City in Shandong province of China jointly established Kyiv College at the Qilu University of Technology in 2019. The college has got all necessary license for 20 years to invite Chinese students to study and graduate bachelor's and master's in a number of chemical technology specialties, as well as design. Teaching of key subjects is conducted by Kyiv University teachers in English, and graduates receive double Ukrainian and Chinese diplomas. From the very beginning, the curricula and programs of Kyiv University have been taken as a basis in education. As we gain experience, some differences between Chinese and Ukrainian students become more apparent. Therefore, teaching methods need some correction. The article presents certain results obtained in the process of teaching analytical chemistry to first-year college students in 2019-2020, formulates the detected problems and outlines ways to solve them. Next slide demonstrates you total experimental scheme for our experiments. 3 lines are shown. For comparison group that contains 161 first to third year students, majority in industrial pharmacy at Kyiv University. The survey data for Ukrainian students was basic. The second line shows research done for teaching Chinese students. We have focus group that contains 75 first-year students majoring in light chemical engineering at Qilu University. The third line shows our results with individual preferences and group profiles for both of our groups, optimization of cognitive load, optimization of lecture structure, and as a result, the promotion of learning efficiency. Next slide demonstrates you preferred learning styles of Chinese students at Qilu University compared to Ukrainian students at Kyiv University. You can see the line for Chinese students in red and for Ukrainian students in blue. The relative number of students of Kyiv University and Qilu University with different learning preferences. Chinese and Ukrainian students of related specialties demonstrate qualitatively similar preferences in learning styles. Following the Felder-Solomon method, the dominance of active, sensing, visual, and sequential styles is characteristic of both students groups. A significant quantitative difference is observed in learning profiles of students groups. 46 to 44% of students from China demonstrate reflective, verbal, and intuitive or intuition learning styles. A decisive advantage in the opposite direction namely active, visual, and sensing, is characteristic for 72% to 87% of Ukrainian students. The observed difference in these learning preferences should be reflected in the different form and methods used in the teaching of academic disciplines. For example, you see other pictures with the strength of preferred learning styles, and you can see that there are two subgroups among Chinese students. In the first subgroup, the preferences are close to those of Ukrainian students. Blue and red curves are close to each other on the left side of the chart. In the second subgroup, a moderate preference for reflective, verbal, and intuitive styles is observed. Red and blue curves don't coincide on the free ride graphs. Teaching in a foreign language enhances the mental load on students. The correlation between students' knowledge of the instruction language and their academic achievements was observed. You see one of our results, as example, this final mark by the results of all tests for Chinese students was a mark of oral exam in chemical technology. The next slide demonstrates influence of different types of tasks on cognitive load. You see difference in task, that the use of computer modeling by ChemLab software provided the best result in students' grades among all other types of learning tasks. If learning conditions help to reduce the cognitive load, academic achievements increase even among students with poor language skills. The method of dual task, namely concurrent use of more than two electron resources, was applied to study students' cognitive load. The danger of mental overload was confirmed. The negative effect of overload outweighs the positive impact of using several channels of information perception. You see the results of our experiments with measurement of cognitive load by secondary task method. You see the level of cognitive load was assessed by measuring the time required to perform a secondary task in the learning process. You can see a difference between tasks. For example, it may be simple text reading, complex text reading, and this video, this animation viewing, and other. And you can see difference in task. Twice as high compared the task 5 is the highest, twice as high compared task 1 and 4 for students. We analyzed structure of lecture in analytical chemistry. The design of lecture presentation was not be too complicated. Virtually all slides involve around 2 electron resources per slide. The complexity of slides is characterized by the average number of elements per slide. And you see our results. And the other slide demonstrates you the number of lecture slides with different multimedia elements by lecture parts. However, attempts to simplify the structure of slides have led to a lack of attention to the formation of mental transition between microscopic, macroscopic and symbolic levels of representation of chemical knowledge. You see, insufficient attention is paid to the formation of transition between different levels of representation of chemical knowledge. And the number of slides with illustration of chemical knowledge at different representation levels transition between these levels, and they are shown in the slide deck. The construction of such mental transitions is one of the most important and difficult tasks in teaching chemistry. And limited number of dedicated slides, you see from our tables, around or up to 4% of the total, reduces the teacher's ability to explain these issues. Next two slides demonstrate you optimal teaching methods for students with prevailing active, sensing, visual, and sequential learning styles. Touchy combination is typical for Ukrainian students and parts of Chinese students. Suitable methods are marked with a plus. And the next, you see optimal teaching methods for students with prevalent reflective, intuitive, verbal, and sequential learning styles. Such a combination is typical for another part of Chinese students. Last slide demonstrates conclusions of our articles. Thank you for attention.